Mm-mm. Yep. I would say this is an emergency meeting, but needed to do this one real quick, like, because a lot of people got some stuff all messed up. What's going on, party people? This your man Griff. I know many of y'all might be in church at the moment, and that's fine. But I figured I'd just hop up here real quick and do a live, whether anybody shows up or not. But it's easier for me to do it this way. Plus, it'll keep me on point for not going too much over my time limit, because I ain't gonna be up here that long, maybe 45 minutes at the most, all that. So let me just slide some stuff over here. All right. What's going on? What's going on, party people? What's up, my man? Hit the like button. Yeah, I know, man. Yeah, I'm looking spiffy today. Hey, look, this to me, this is a serious subject. So it takes, me getting duded up a little bit here, Plus, a lot of people never seen me in my gear. People don't think I even can dress. So I just figured I'd throw this on real quick, and we have a nice little conversation and everything. So hit the like button. This is a serious subject here. That's why I figured I'd throw my and everything, because this is a serious subject, and a lot of people got some misconceptions about this. And this whole subject and what I'm going to talk about is based off of some videos that I've done, especially this last one, and also dealing with the notary everyday people and whether or not we can be forced to train and made to train and all of that kind of stuff. And there's some specific guidelines and laws out there that govern how independent contractors, which are us, and employers work. And it's very important that we understand the distinction of that, because it can be bad for both parties, the independent contractors, us, as well as the employers. And misclassification is a really, really no bad thing to do. And a lot of people will misclassify us as independent contractors, but yet they're trying to lead, guide, and direct every single thing we do. Okay, so the whole premise behind this, and I know a lot of people may not want to listen to this kind of stuff, but I don't care. I'm gonna put it out there, because a lot of people keep making comments and they don't understand the whole scope of things. And I've been laying it out for the longest out here, how things should flow. And again, hit the like button, share on your social media, to your TikTok, to your Instagram, all of that. Let me do a quick share real quick, because I wanted to see if I can get some other folk in on here listening and get their opinion in the copy link. And let me do that over here with my cool cats and stuff. Sorry about that, y'all. I was rushing today. And all right, so also let me know where you're coming from. If you're coming from Virginia, New York, Connecticut, Texas, wherever. And also type in the chat whether or not do you understand the difference between an independent contractor and an employee. If you understand the difference, put a yes. If you don't understand the difference, put a no. Okay, that's simple. So one of the things that we have going on in the notary industry is that a lot of people love to try to train us. They want to train us. And that's a slippery slope, because when you hire an independent contractor, by definition, they should be coming in already trained. They should have come in already with the skill set, and they should be coming in already with the necessary things that they knowledge of how to do the job. Now, is that the case? And now I'm thinking about, I'm gonna put this in the chat real quick. Copy. These are some links to some of the resources that I meant to put into my hopefully that's not more. All right, might be ran together a little bit there. But that is some links. Hold on, let me do it this way. Let me do it this way. Hold on. Hold on. Da, 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 da. Let me just do it one at a time. So that way it'll look right. All right. All right. So I'm going to just put these links in here one at a time. And I will also add it to the description, the video description. And I want y'all to listen to this because you really need to understand the difference between an independent contractor and an employee. So one of the concerns that I have is there's this site out there called Notary Every Day. Okay. I'm not saying it can't exist. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be out there. What I'm saying is I have concerns about the site, and I've done a video about that. Look at my live playlist, and you'll see it. I did a video talking about how they're claiming that they have the top 1% of all notaries. And when you broke it down, the top 1%, and you said they have 50,000 notaries in that database, well, that's 50,000. 50,000 is 1% of 5 million. Okay, you take that 50,000 and you divide that by the 50 states that we have, you're only talking about 1,000 notaries per state. Okay, so 1,000 notaries per state, and you're saying they're the top 1% of all notaries out here who are doing loan closings. Okay, well then what is the pay for the top 1%? I think the pay should be high. It's not higher, just high if you're talking about paying the top 1%. Okay, now one of the other concerns that I have, and see, they also state in their frequently asked questions that they really can't control or dictate the pay that we get. That's between us and the company that hires us. And I agree with that. I understand that. But to say that I'm the top 1%, then to me, I should be getting top 1% pay. What's the definition of top 1% pay? That's the other question. What is the criteria to be considered a top 1% notary? Now, this is where I think they're leading to, which is getting LSS certified. Now, I've never taken the course. I've seen the course. People have shown me what the course has in it. And I'm like, okay, cool. And from what I've heard and been told, the course is more about marketing rather than being a notary. So understanding what my job is as a notary, does that course really help me in order to be a notary? Do I really need help with marketing? If I don't, then there's no need for me to take the course. It's that simple. Now, the other question is that I have or concern is in Notary Every Day or Every Day. No, let me make sure because I always keep getting them. Is it Notary Every Day? Okay, Notary Every Day. So in Notary Every Day site, it talks about or it shows your profile. They've already pulled us in. I've never signed up for the site, but they pulled us in. They might kick me out now. They pulled us in probably from the NNA, and they have in there that we're not or we are LSS certified. My thing is this. I don't think that a notary database should be dictating who I get my training from, especially if that training is not specific to what my state needs me to have. If you say that I should have it, then what is the criteria? What is the reason why I should have it? What does it do for me in order to, if I take the training, what does it do for me? Okay. And I know there's a few people out there talking about, well, Griff, you need to polish up the way you say it. It's going to be dirty. Okay. It's not going to be polished. So that's just the way it is. Okay. So stop sending me the emails about polishing up the way I talk. It's not going to happen. Okay. So if you're saying that should be this or indicating that I'm not a certain certification, thanks, man. Yeah. Thank you. If you're indicating that here's Stephen Griffin, notary in Virginia, he has a state commission, he's NNA certified, but he's not LSS certified. Are you saying that's a problem? Now, somebody on my latest video from Friday made the comment that these companies can prefer whatever training they want. Here's the thing. Why is a notary database that just holding notaries preferring any kind of training? Why is a notary database saying we prefer you to have this? I thought y'all weren't dictating. If you can't help me get my pay, then why are you telling me who I should get training from? because I'm an independent contractor and I'm not your employee. And I'm gonna show y'all something in a second concerning that. The SnapDocs themselves says they don't require you to be NNA certified. They don't require any of that. They're not mandating any of that. They say maybe the people who pick the notary may require it, but the database managers of the notaries, they don't require it because they know they can't legally sit there and tell an independent contractor, you better take so-and-so's training. Who is so-and-so? That is not a state guide. That's not a state ran training. LSS or any of them out there, they're not state ran. So how can this entity that is just a holder of notary profile say, in order for you to get work, you need to have this particular training, when they don't know whether or not that training is actually applicable to me in my state? It may be illegal, some of the stuff they're teaching in there. So now you're promoting them, and I take them, and guess what? I do something based off of that training and get in trouble. Who's at fault? So when you're an independent contractor, the training is on you. It's up to you, not the people hiring you to make sure you get trained. That's why I'm a little iffy as I've grown in this business and just learned things about people who own signing companies, but they're also doing training, because now you're specifically training me for something that's specific for your clientele. But then what happens if I take what you train me for these people and I apply it over here? Because I may not know the difference between your client over there and a client with somebody else. So you, Mr. Signing Company, you're training me in one direction. I go to another signing company and I take what you taught me over here, and it may not work. That's the concern that I have. So let me share something with y'all now, and I'm going to put the link. So there's a video that I did called Dealing with Difficult Signing Companies. All right. So let me grab that. And then I'm going to put the link in it. And then when you look in let me show y'all. So when you're in this here video, you go into the comment section of the description, go down to where it says understanding W-2 employees versus independent contractors, down here at the bottom. Okay. That's what this is. Okay. And you go down here so you can get a better understanding, because I talked about this a little bit in this video here. Okay. I talked about this in that video. So let me post that. So now, y'all know I love the AI tools, or at least like them a lot. So over here, now, let me pull this up. So over here, I asked a simple question. What are the rules for employers training independent contractors? And we're going to take our time and go through this here. When it comes to training independent contractors, or ICs, employers must be careful to avoid misclassification issues under federal and state laws. Here are the key rules to consider, rules and consideration. Avoid excessive control over how work is performed. Okay, let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, avoid control over how work is performed. So if you have a signing company owner, let me take this down off my face here real quick. If you have a signing company owner who is trying to say, this is how I want you to perform each and everything, you have to be careful about that. You have to be careful, because is what you're telling me to do, is it in line with my state guidelines, or is it personal preference? And remember, I did a video not too long ago called Personal Preference or State Policy. Are you teaching me what I'm supposed to do per my state, or is it personal preference? Because the law is the law, and it's very clear. And when you look at those links that I put in the description, you're going to see that. Okay, when you look at the links, let me come up here to y'all. When you, there you go. When you look at the links that I put in the chat real quick, and then I'm gonna put them in the description. You're going to see that, okay, we can't be playing around with it. I can call myself an independent contractor, but if the way I'm being treated and dealt with and guided is more like an employee, the federal government, they don't play. They take that serious, okay? So let's go back to this here. So it goes on and says rule. Training should focus on compliance, safety, and technical specifics of a project, not how to perform the core duties of the job. Risk. If training dictates how the work must be done, it may suggest an employer-employee relationship leading to misclassification. Training should be voluntary, not mandatory. So when you have up there, when you have in there that somebody is not such and such certified, are you mandating that? Because if you're mandating it, and keep in mind, as the notary database company, you're not even hiring us. You're not the hiring company. You're just the conduit that holds the names, and then we decide, okay, where we're going to go. Or somebody decides to choose us, and we still decide whether we want to work with them or not. So the notary database owner, to me, should be mindful of how they tell us we should be ... especially if they don't know what they're asking us is in line with our state guidelines. Okay, let's keep going. So it says the rule. ICs, meaning independent contractors, generally cannot be required to attend training sessions unless the training is legally required. In this case, talking about by OSHA or your state. So is that training you're asking me to do legally required? Tied to specific project requirements, software tools needed for the contract. Risk. Mandating training is a red flag for misclassification. So I know this is sounding legalistic, but this is important because we're business owners here. Okay. Somebody trying to tell me that that by me being in this notary database, that I have to have this training, or even somewhat insinuating that by me having this training or listing that I'm not such and such certified, when that is not legally required, that's a problem. And I need somebody to tell me otherwise. See, here's the problem that we have in this notary business. Too many of us, which I'm not a part of that, but too many people in this notary business, you are business owners still wanting W-2 coddling. You want somebody to treat you like a W-2. You want somebody to do everything for you. And if they say do it, okay, yes, I'm going to do it. But you're an independent contractor. You are a business owner. They can't direct but so much of what you do and how you do it. There's guidelines and rules. And the problem is many of you who make comments on my channel, you don't understand. So yes, a signing company, as one person commented, they say, well, that signing company can have a preference of who they want you to be trained by. Why? Why does the training company, that's like Angie's List telling the plumber, well, we want you to be trained by Michigan State Plumbing Association. Well, I'm a North Dakota plumber. I'm marketing to people in North Dakota. Yeah, but we really like the Michigan. Okay, the Michigan stuff don't have anything to do with North Dakota. So Angie's List should not be, that's a database of contractors, independent contractors, to provide service to you and me if we need to. So for them, the only thing that they should be requiring is that we have the legal requirements of our state: insurance, bond, whatever the case may be, certifications that are applicable to what my state wants in order for me to do the job while in my state. If the training that is suggesting is from somebody outside of my state and they haven't done due diligence for whether or not what they're teaching is applicable in my state, then why am I required or even suggested or encouraged to have that certification? Come on, somebody talk to me. Talk to me. Griff, the suit doesn't fit. If the suit doesn't fit business suit attire. I didn't say this was a business suit. This is just a suit. I still look good in it. What's going on? What's going on, lady? Hey, what's going on, Frank? The griff in the suit doesn't fit the business suit or tie. Hey, look, I got a black jacket. I got a blue jacket. I got the black tie. Okay. I can sit up there and dress like the presidents, just a plain shirt, plain tie, plain jacket. I can do that, but I'm not. So this is what I'm trying now. If anybody understands what I'm saying and get where I'm going with this, put a 1 in the chat. If it's unclear, put a 2 in the chat and tell me what's unclear. Okay. So what we see here is this is on DeepSeek chat. So whatever training, and I've said this, it should be legally required. Legally required by who? My state. So if my state says what you're training me on is cool, then I should take it. If what you're training me on isn't cool with my state, then I shouldn't, because who commissioned me? My state. So no company specific procedures or ongoing supervision. Training should not involve companies' policies that apply to employees, that apply only to employees, attendant performance reviews, ongoing supervision and performance management. That's why I was never down with them trying to give me these grades. So like Rocket Mortgage and some of these other companies, oh, you're a 5-star and you're this grade and that grade. Either I did the job right or I didn't. You don't have to grade me because I'm not an employee. Okay. Exception, compliance with laws. Harassment prevention, data security may be permissible if applied to all workers. Who pays for the training? Of course, it should be the independent contractor. Typically covers their own training costs unless the company agrees to otherwise cover it. So if I see that a particular training is good, is good for me to stay in compliance with my state laws, not just the good to do stuff, but for my state laws, then yes, I'm gonna pay for it and take it. But now the question becomes this: if the training that is out here that people promote and say that we should be taking, if it's more centered on marketing and getting more business, but I'm in a notary database that's supposed to be marketing and getting me the business by highlighting me, how does that help? Because what's the most important thing that I should be doing as a notary? I should be making sure that I do the notarizations correctly. So if I'm not doing the notarizations correctly, and the course that I took was all about marketing, then how does that help anybody? So anything that I do, anything that I take should assist me in doing the job right for you. That's what it should do. And it should not violate my state law. Because if I do something that's in violation of my state law, and they do an audit and deem that what I said or what I did was in violation, well, I think that hurts everybody. So to say that I should or should not have this training, I need proof that I should have it. I need proof that it fits within the scope of my duties as a notary for the state of Virginia, Montana, North Dakota, wherever. And if you say, well, no, that's not my job. Hey, the notary database people say, that ain't my job to make sure. I'm just telling you what we prefer. Okay, why do you prefer it? Well, we just prefer it. No, I need to know why. Because if it's not your job to ensure that what you're telling me to take meets my state requirements, so when I do my due diligence to ensure that, to see whether it does, and I see that it don't, then why do I have to have listed by my name that I'm not such and such certified, which can be deemed as a negative connotation toward me and my ability to do the job? That's the concern. See, nobody wants to think of it that way. Everybody wants to have this, well, people can do whatever they want, but is it legal? Is it right? And is it breaking the Sherman Antitrust Act, meaning creating a conglomerate or restricting me from being able to work out here and compete? Is that training necessary for me to truly compete with everybody else? Well, what is the job of a notary? Well, the job of a notary is to verify identity and notarize the signatures of that person who signed in front of me, to swear them in if there's an affidavit, in accordance with state guidelines and to notarize the signature after they've been sworn in. So now, if that's the job of the notary and that's what you're hiring me to do, and that's the only reason why you were hiring me is because I have a notary commission to do that, taking that training, and that training has nothing to do with that, what good does that do me or anybody? And this is stuff that anybody would ask, okay? You would ask for any situation. So let me go over here. Let me go into the comments. So naturally, so the company should just hire us directly from a database instead of going through the middleman of the signing company. It should be like Angie's List that will then make us more accountable and liable. You know what? You're right. You're right, because the database should not dare, because I had to put a note down here for me. Temp agency. Temp agencies do what? They get you in there for employment purpose. And I've been a part of Apple One, and it was a couple others. My wife, she knows who they are. But I've been a part of different ones. Apple One, Tech Systems. That was a cool one there. Tech Systems, I like them. And I still remember the guy, Yusuf and Aaron. They was the account managers, and those guys took really, really good care of me, getting me jobs. Well, they did what got me jobs as an employee. I wasn't working as an independent contractor. I was a temporary employee working for such and such companies to do such and such work, and they guided every single thing I did. And within the Tech Systems framework, there were trainings that was specific to the job that would help me, like typing and all of that kind of stuff, understanding Word Perfect back in the day before it was just Word, all of that. Now, as an independent contractor, I should come in with the skill set. And the reason why I know this is because I worked for the Office of Inspector General when I was working up there in the Maryland area with the National Geospatial people, NGA, National Geospatial Association. They runs the satellites. I was in charge of building the websites out for various different, I'm checking the time, various different offices there, because these people were on what you call level one, meaning they had direct access to the president. So my job, which I was dressing like this, my job was to make sure their websites was straight. And as I was going through their documentation, I saw orders, or I guess you could say letters from the government to the different contracting companies that said, when we hire y'all, it's your responsibility to make sure your employees are properly trained, and it's not the government's. So the government was like, anybody who we hired, we'll just say Booz Allen Hamilton. Your job, Booz, is to make sure everybody is straight. Then Booz would tell us, we're not going to train you to do the job that we're hiring you for. You should already have it. And y'all see that every day in the world. You either come and what kind of experience you have? Well, where I'm going to get it? Well, you better go get it somewhere else, because we ain't going to train you. So now it's a little different with the notary. It's, well, let me tell you how you're going to do this. You're going to stand here, do this, put your pink finger here, stamp like this, do that. Okay, a lot of that seems to be more personal preference. I can figure it out. Okay, now I agree with don't print double-sided, don't email the documents, things of that nature, because those follow certain guidelines that the federal government has, that mortgages, that when you have documents, it should go out a certain way. I got that. But when you start training the notary on how to go over the documents and what to say about the documents, and breaking down and helping people understand why they had to pay 3 months worth of homeowners insurance and taxes and all of that, that shouldn't be the notary's job. When did it become the notary's job? That should be the title people, because they're the ones who did the calculations, not the notary. So to say that I need to take some kind of training that teaches me how to do that, when that's not my job in accordance with my state law, and it will put me in violation of my state law that I swore an oath to, I think that will be incorrect. See, this is where I need y'all to help me to understand what I'm saying, what I'm saying is right. And if you wholeheartedly believe it, then what you need to do is provide documentation to support your theory. Okay. Hey, what's going on there, Ronnie? Yep, that's my wife there. So while my wife says I look handsome in my not so businessy business attire, I don't care. So and Ronnie, she knows, she understands. People who hire, you have to be careful of that. So let me show y'all some other stuff here, okay? So I asked the question to DeepSeek. What are the IRS rules for employers providing or mandating independent contractors to take training provided by the employer or other entity? So it says the IRS does not have explicit rules solely about training independent contractor, but its guidelines on worker classification under the IRS common law rules impacting whether mandatory training could trigger misclassification. So what you have to understand, and let me, and you got to look at the videos that I put in the chat, and that's going to be in the description. Misclassification is basically if you are classified by an employer as a W-2, you're classified, they got you down as a W-2, but then they tell you really you're an independent contractor. Well, there's tax implications for that you're liable for and that they're liable for, and vice versa. So if you're an independent contractor, but then they're telling you to come in at a certain time, this, that, and the other, ... There's some problems there because now you're no longer considered an independent contractor. You're really working as an employee and you are owed certain protections under the law. So it's not about whether you call yourself such and such. It's how the work relationship goes. That's like being y'all living together for 7 years and they say y'all common law marriage. Well, no, we just dating. Common law marriage. And if you break up, she gets half or he gets half. See, there's laws out there on how things are related to one another. And because you don't understand the laws of relationship, well, I'm about to be ready to preach now. What am I about? When you don't understand the laws of relationship, this is how you have misunderstandings, and this is how you get called food and go and fall for the okie doke. This is how you start doing stuff and just start submitting to people and doing what they say because they got some money to give you. Come on, somebody, preach. Come on now. So let's go. So it says the IRS rules, basically the behavioral test. The IRS examines whether the employer controls how workers perform. So if the employer is really getting deep down into training me on how I'm supposed to do ... Am I an employee or am I an independent contractor? Red flags: requiring IC's independent contractors to attend company mandated training on how to do their job. That's the red flag. Training on company specific systems. That's a red flag. Permissible training, legally required, and this is an example, safety training. So training on how to properly notarize a signature in accordance with Virginia law, New York law, California law, that's allowed. Okay. That's allowed. But how many people are doing that? Ain't nobody out here, keep track of the time, ain't nobody out here training us on how to specifically make sure that we do the notarizations correct. It's everything above the signature line of the person who we're meeting with. They want us to be all involved in that aspect, but they don't make sure that we know how to do the notarial part. And what do they tell us after spending $500 with them? You should already know how to notarize before you come in here. So if I know how to notarize and I understand my state law, then what the heck are you teaching me? This is just a truth thing here. I'm just being honest with you. If I already know how to do the proper notarizations, I already know what I'm supposed to do if there's a person with 2 last names and the ID check and all of that, then what are you really training me to do concerning this job of loan closings? Well, I'm teaching you how to, what was that? Oh, how to do the job like the escrow officer, or how to do the job like the settlement officer or the title person, or how to step in and do their job when I'm an independent contractor hired as a notary. Oh, that's what you teaching me how to do? How to take on their role? So I'm an independent business owner, but I'm going to go into this relationship with them operating like a W-2. And you telling me that that's not going to kick up some red flags? Come on, somebody, talk to me. Talk to me. So the financial control, if the employer pays or reimburses for general training, not specifically to a contract, it may imply employment. IC should generally cover their own training costs unless it's project essential. Thank you. I missed the scripture, but you're preaching right now. Thank you, buddy. Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate that, man. So what I'm trying to get people to understand, we got to be careful about how we do things. Just because you don't like, and I get it. The whole thing hold on, let me cover this last part. So it says, when can employers require independent contractors to take training? Mandatory safety, usually acceptable, project specific, low risk if tied to a contract. Company policies, that's a red flag. Job methods and processes, do it our way, that's a high risk. You see what I'm saying? That's a high risk. So we have to make sure that we're doing things correctly. It is our responsibility as the business owner. The problem is that too many people are trying to gain control over the notary. The persons who really control this industry are the people with the money, and that's the lenders. The lenders control this industry. And what I'm trying to do is make sure that I operate in such a way that when this document that I've notarized signatures on goes to the courthouse, is submitted by the title company to the courthouse, that it goes through. That's the whole key. All of this stuff about me making sure that they understand what they're signing, if they are a fully grown person, man, woman, they should be able to understand what they're signing. And if they don't, the people who want to go in contract with them should take on the responsibility of ensuring that. I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. With all the technology we have out here, I do not understand why there aren't, within a secured portal, that these title companies and lenders don't have videos that explain the documents to their customer. You go into the portal, you go into First American, Bank of America, Wells Fargo portal to see your loan documents, to e-sign your loan documents. They got a portal called Simplify. You go in there and all of that, and then you have a video that explains this document to them, and they can go and listen to it. So that's covered. Why do a notary needs to do that when you have somebody who understands the document, the loan officer and the title people, and they can have somebody explain each document and give a summary of each one. So now that person has it and it's done. That, okay, here's the signature affidavit. What does that mean? Here's the borrower's consent to use tax return. What does that mean? Here's the 4506C. What does that mean? And they can have a video explanation of that. Now, will that tear up all of the trainers out here? Yes, it will. That's not my intent. But if you're trying to keep in line with state law, then to me, and you, Mr. and Miss Title Company, you, Mr. and Miss Lender, you want to make sure the notaries don't say something incorrect. Because here's the thing. You don't know what those trainers are telling notaries to do. You're not monitoring and overseeing what the trainers are telling notaries to say about your documents. And if you make a change to your documents and the notary trainer don't know about the change, what they're training them on for the last 30 days could be something incorrect for the next 60 days, because you now have a new thing in your documents and they're teaching them wrong. But if you provide the training to your clients, Mr. and Miss House Buyer, Mr. and Miss House Seller, Mr. and Miss HELOC, Mr. and Miss Refinance, then the notary comes in there and do their part. Where's the issue? Where's the issue? So I get that we want things done correctly, but there's a lot of stuff that can happen prior to make this thing work a whole lot smoother. I agree with you. However, I'm acting in the capacity of a loan. If I'm acting in the capacity as a loan signer, then I feel like knowing what I am telling the client is in the scope of my you said hired job. But we're not acting as a loan signer. See, that's the thing. We should not be acting in the capacity of the loan signer. We're not. We're the notary. If I'm understanding what you're sharing, Amajad, if I'm acting in the capacity as a loan signer, the notary cannot act as in the capacity of a loan signer. We don't have a power of attorney to even sign for them or any of that. Then I feel like knowing what I'm telling the client is in the scope of my hired job. We should not be, if I'm understanding you correctly, we should not be operating as them. Everybody has a role, ROLE. I say this over and over and over again. Oops. He said maybe someone will call them out. Look, I get it. I don't even think it need to go that far. I just think we just need to do what our role is. What is my role? I'm hired as a notary because I wouldn't even be hired. I can't even be in the database if I wasn't a notary. So if I wasn't a legit, confirmed, swore to an oath notary, I can't even be there. So I can take everybody's course and learn all that I want as concerning these loan documents, and I can articulate and explain everything. But guess what? If I'm not a notary, I can't even be on the order. That's facts. So what's more important, knowing the documents or knowing how to do my job as a notary? Because if you don't notarize correctly, guess what? No matter what you say about the document, no matter what you guide them through, no matter what you took, Bill Soroka, Laura Brewer, Kendra Lewis, Vanessa Terry, Notary Stars with Ronnie, Mark Wills, LSS, or anybody else that's out there, you can take all their courses. You can go to the Michigan Consortium. You can go to NNA. You can go to everybody's meetup and sit downs and all of that and sips and eats. But guess what? If you don't do your job right as a notary, that person don't get the money that they need for their medical bills. That's what this boils down to. Let me get out of here because I got to take my son to work, take off my dupes. I like it. This is one of my favorite jackets in color combination. I had two ties. I was going to wear my more burgundy one, but I think I probably could have worn the more burgundy one because it matches the burgundy stripes in there that you might not be able to see. But I figured I'd just dress up a little bit for y'all. So feel free to throw some comments, questions down in the comment section. So let me just get you the reason why I did this video. So I can help y'all understand. Because on my last live, hold on, let me pull this up real quick. On my last live, the one that I did on Friday, let me pull that up for y'all real quick. So on this one, there was a couple of comments made right here. So this young lady, I can't even pronounce the name. I'll be messing it up. She left a nice comment in here, and I was basically answering that because, as you're saying, like there are signing services that mostly recognize Notary Star certification. Wouldn't that also make them biased as well? And in my opinion, yes. Sorry that this is real small, but it's on this video here from last Friday. I'll drop that in the chat real quick. The thing is this should not be biased because notaries are told not to be biased. We're supposed to be unbiased. So being biased to that training, especially if you want me to do what that training is saying, and if that training is telling me to do something that is outside of the scope of my state laws, the signing company should be neutral. The signing company is just a conduit to get me and the title company connected. The signing company don't even create the documents. They don't do nothing with the documents. So therefore, why are you concerned about my training? That's my responsibility. And if I'm a commissioned notary and I know how to properly notarize, then where's the issue? And if you want me to do anything other than notarize, then now we got to talk about that independent contractor agreement and maybe talk about a higher fee, because now you're asking me to do something outside the scope of what I'm supposed to do, which puts more liability on me. Because if you're not going to give me any kind of insurance or assurance that your E&O insurance is going to cover me if I make a mistake, then I ain't putting myself out there like that. That's just facts. So you can't tell me to do something and then don't give me assurance that your E&O insurance provider is going to cover me if I make a mistake. And it comes down on me, because you can say all day long, yeah, they're going to cover you. I want to hear from them, and I want it in writing. All right, y'all, let me get out of here. Talk to y'all later. Peace.